Welcome, welcome, welcome to Pathetic, the podcast. First and foremost, make sure you guys like and subscribe. We got a great show for you guys lined up on tap today. First of all, we'll do the recap of the Super Bowl. I know we're a little late, but we had a few scheduling conflicts, which, the Super Bowl ended up being one of the worst games we've ever seen in a championship game. We'll also go over the Giants and the Jets finally completing their coaching search. And boys, it is finally baseball season. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. I missed you guys. It's been a little while. I've been chomping at the bit. I've been locked in on the Olympics this entire week and a half we've been gone, and it's a lot of fun. So, Teddy, how we doing?
Doing good. Other than battling a head cold, I'm doing good. I'm ready to move into baseball season. Let's get the weather warmer, play some golf. Let's get this going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man. I got a tooth extraction tomorrow, which I think I told you guys about before the show. So believe me, I don't care how bad you guys are feeling. There is nothing worse than not just going to the dentist, but a tooth extraction, which I had about a year ago. It's one of the most painful, nauseating, horrifying things I have to do. But
are you going under?
It is what it is. I got it.
Or are they just numbing you?
I'm not going to go under. No, they're going to numb me, I guess. So the last time I did it, they did like the Novocaine or whatever. But it's not even the process of getting the extraction. It's the post-extraction. It's just 3 days of eating liquids. You're in pain. You can't sleep. But you know what? The fact that baseball season is here, that'll make us feel better. So I think, guys, we should start with the Super Bowl. And there's really not much to talk about here. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I texted you guys during the game, and I'm like, I enjoy this kind of game. I like the low-scoring defensive games, but it turned out to be just a complete blowout. It was actually the first game I've seen that was a dud, that was boring as hell, but ended up being a blowout. And, it's funny. I got to wipe the egg off my face because I was selling the Patriots and how good they were and how everybody was wrong. They weren't a product of their schedule. And I was wrong. I mean, this team was clearly a product of a very easy schedule. And I realized how hypocritical I was too, boys, because I said the Giants were a bad team record-wise because of their schedule. And I went against my thought process with the Patriots. Like, the schedule does matter, right? And we saw that with the Patriots all throughout the playoffs. Drake May, who, Uncle Ted, I've been talking about him since North Carolina. Yeah. He was 6 touchdowns, 8 turnovers in the playoffs, did not play well. I still think he'll be good. But as far as the game goes, I'm happy for Sam Darnold. And the way this guy acted after the game is exactly why we like this guy. Never took the credit, just passed the credit on to everybody else, said this is a team win. But the game itself, man, I don't know. I thought it ended up at the end of the day being a dud. Mike, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back historically, most Super Bowls, with the exception of a very few, are generally not great games if you look at them. Last year, the Eagles-Chiefs game was not a great game. Most of the time, you're not going to get the 28-3 comeback. You're not going to get the Marshawn Lynch at the goal line kind of things that happen. Usually, it's this kind of game where one team gets there and the other team is clearly the better team and shows it most of the time. So, credit to the Seahawks. They really put it to them. They had a great game plan. They knew the only way they were going to lose that game is if they turned the ball over, and they just wouldn't do it. They at 3rd and 12 from the 30-yard line, they're not throwing the ball deep to try to throw an interception. They're going to run the ball, kick the field goal, and say Drake May is not going to beat this score on this defense until it's way out of hand, and that's exactly what happened. So, they had a perfect game plan, and they ran circles around that Patriots team, and nothing made me happier. I was a kid on Christmas Day on Super Bowl Sunday. It was fantastic. Minus that all my bets basically lost because tails was wrong, the over on the national anthem was wrong, everything was just not there. But I'll trade all of that in for the Patriots to get destroyed like they did in that game. Teddy, what do you think?
Yeah, Mike, I agree with you 100%. I hate them so much.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what was funny? This week, Craig Carton gave his 3 teams that made the playoffs this year that will not make the playoffs this year, and he said the Patriots will be one of them. I mean, they've got a lot of questions. They've got some stuff going on. They were a product of their schedule. But yeah, hey, listen, to their credit, they can only play who's scheduled,
Yep.
and they won those games. I do think Drake May is going to be a good quarterback. I think we can now put the Hall of Fame discussions away for a
Right.
little while.
True.
Some people were comparing him to Josh Allen. Stop, you're embarrassing yourself. But yeah, I was very happy. And I agree with you, Jeff. I like games that are a little more defensive, unless you bet the over. I like games like that. So it was okay for me, but just seeing the Patriots losing, however the game was played, was great. And Sam Darnold, after the game, when he talked about the Jets, and he said, I was very sorry that I wasn't able to fulfill this there. He says those fans deserved that. And also to show you what kind of a guy he is, he's been a regular on that Bob Does Sports podcast, playing golf with Josh Allen and a few other players. One of their producers said this week, he says, I texted Sam on the morning of the Super Bowl. So Bob says to him, the morning of the Super Bowl, he says, yeah, I just said to him, good luck, we're all pulling for you. He goes, and he answered me. So Bob goes, after the game? He says, nope, before the game, about an hour and a half before the game. He said, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. I mean, that's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it was
I think
great.
that's why there was a meme or whatever, a graph or whatever I saw, where it had like, the whole country, who's rooting for Sam Darnold and who isn't. The whole country was lit up for Sam Darnold.
Sure.
Right? He's impossible to not root for. But I'm glad, Uncle Ted, you gave a very fair analysis of the Patriots, because obviously you guys are happy they lost, right? Just like when the Eagles lost, I was very happy they lost. If the Cowboys ever make it, which they probably won't, I'll be happy if they lose. But you also aren't completely unsold on them. I still think the Patriots are going to be a good team.
Mhm.
They're just not as good as we thought they were. I still think that Drake May is going to be good. We know Mike Vrabel can coach, but they were 100% a product of the schedule. It just, and I wasn't convinced of that until the Super Bowl, because my thought process was like, okay, the Patriots had the best defenses in the game. They were playing in the playoffs. They had horrible weather. So I didn't put a lot of judgment in those games in the playoffs. But that Super Bowl, that they just were completely flat. Drake May looked just like he was lost. But, boys, we can't forget, this is also year number 2 for him. This isn't a kid who's been in the game for 10 years, who's seasoned. He's going to learn from this. And not that I'm rooting for him necessarily. I don't really care. But I think this is probably a good learning experience for him. And, he might look back on it and, become better for it. But it is fun watching the Patriots lose. I have to share that sentiment with you guys.
Did
I
you
definitely
know?
agree with it.
Did you know that Dan Marino made the Super Bowl in his first year and never got back?
Yep. I was literally just about to say that. You think about it. Oh, they'll be back. They're going to be good. They're going to be whatever. There's no guarantee of that. There was no guarantee that you're going to come back and ever get back to that pinnacle again. You think about it. Everything broke their way. The Bills lost. Mahomes was hurt. Lamar Jackson, that was a whole disaster. Everything kind of broke their way in the playoffs. Bo Nix was hurt. So there's no guarantee that they're going to all of a sudden be back and be, back into this thing. I am trying to put my hatred of them aside. They have a lot of great. Their defense was very, very good in that game, and their defense is going to carry them, I think, going forward. But I just don't know if this was the year. If you were trying to get out of the AFC, this was the year to do it, because just the way everything kind of broke. So
it's probably they're probably the closest to a guarantee to get back, and I'll tell you why. You know that saying from Big Daddy, the goddamn Jets? It's the goddamn Patriots. Somehow, some way, they have a bad year, 2 bad years, and then all of a sudden they're back in the mix. So I wouldn't be surprised if they come back next year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't either, right? I want to see them go up against the top teams. But listen, this Super Bowl wasn't great. Again, I thought it started out really good. Like we talked about, I do enjoy those defensive games. So let's move on to our teams. Finally, the finalization of the coaching hires have been completed. the Jets and the Giants. And as our resident Jet fans, I'll let you guys fire away about the Jets hirings overall, what you guys thought. So, Mike, what did you think about the Jets hirings?
So I think the staff is, as I said last week, last time we were on, it can't be any worse than the staff was last year because they just were completely over their heads. The offensive coordinator, I mean, the talent on the roster was not where it needed to be. So you actually have some professional guys that are in the room now, especially on offense, which is where you really need them to be. And if Aaron Glenn's going to call the defense, then let's go. I mean, you saw that Mike McDonald was the first coach to ever call defensive plays to make the Super Bowl and win it this year. So maybe that's what Aaron Glenn needed, is to be there and sitting there and call the defense, because that's what his specialty is. It's just like Andy Reid calling the plays or Sean Payton calling the plays for offense. He's coaching the whole team, but you got to let him do what he's really, really good at, which is calling the plays. So let him call the plays on defense, and let's again, can't be worse than it was last year. So let's keep going.
Yeah, I'm very encouraged on defense. To me, hiring Carl Dunbar back for that defensive line coach job, he's a great coach. He really is a great coach. So I think he's gonna really help there. Offensively, Frank Reich and Musgrave, I think, are going to make a world of difference with whoever they bring in. But honestly, I think hiring those two, I think it also leads you to believe they have a quarterback in mind to draft, that these guys can help. A Nussbaum, Carson Beck. I doubt Diego Pavia, because as Boomer said, they're looking for somebody like 6 foot like that. I'll tell you what, this week I saw a YouTube where they did a 20 film thing on the kid from North Dakota State. And there were over 10 NFL executives that said he's not at the Fernando Mendoza level now, but they think he has a higher ceiling. He's like 6'3", good size. So I mean, maybe they have somebody in mind for that. And who knows? Again, I'm going to say this, and I know John Kalanya said that I am delusional. I don't fully believe 100% that the Raiders are taking Fernando Mendoza.
Oof.
I don't 100%.
We disagreed on this last week, Uncle Ted, and I still feel just as strongly they're taking him. I don't see any way they can't.
Listen, I don't know, but it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of quarterbacks. There will be a lot of quarterbacks out there that Frank Reich can work with, and whoever they pick, whatever they decide to do, I agree with Mike. Let Aaron Glenn run the defense. Let Frank Reich be the head of the offense, and he's got his coaching staff. Let's go. I'm a lot more optimistic about things today than I was a month ago.
Well, the Frank Reich hiring, which I loved, it sets the Jets up as best as they possibly can be, right? Because now you have Frank Reich, who knows what he's doing with the offense. Whoever the quarterback's going to be, he can handle the quarterback. And now you have Aaron Glenn with a little bit of stress off his shoulders, right? I'm not a fan of a coach, a head coach, solely focusing on one side of the ball. And I think Aaron Glenn might be the one guy where I'm like, maybe he should do that. And let's see how that works, right? He has a great offensive coordinator, in my opinion. So I think the Jets are set up, depending on who the quarterback is, they can maybe possibly surprise people. So I actually want to put you guys on the spot real quick. This just came to my mind.
Oh boy.
Give me 3 quarterbacks, your top 3, 3-1, who you want to be the Jets quarterback.
Who we want or who we think they have a shot at
No,
getting?
not who you think, who you want to be the Jets quarterback.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be in order. Just like give me 3
guys. Veterans. We're not going to look at rookies.
Going to be veterans or free agents.
Because I think Fernando Mendoza is both our ones if we're going that route.
Of course. But he ain't going. He's going to the Raiders.
All right. So who's your number 3, Mike?
3. I'm going to go with Carson Wentz is 3 because he works with Frank Reich. They were successful together. I know He's much older now, but if you only need him for a year, maybe 2, I think you can't be worse than what you had in the room before. So that's my 3.
Yep. My 3 would be Derek Carr.
Wow, I thought he'd be number 1 or 2 for you.
No.
Yeah, I think he's probably 2. He's probably 2 for me is Derek Carr, just because I think he's proven that he can play in the league, and he just has gotten bad coaching throughout. And I think if you have a guy who knows what he's doing, I think that's a good spot for him.
My number 2 would be Mac Jones.
And Malik Willis is my number 1.
That's my number 1 also.
Got to be your number 1. That's I'm not even a Jeff fan. That's my number 1. So.
Yeah.
But you know what's so funny, guys? We talk about the quarterbacks like there's none of it. There's some quarterbacks available. This idea that like the Jets can't get anybody as long as they want to come to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And now with Frank Reich, that is a huge selling point for a quarterback, right? If you hired some, off the beaten path OC that nobody knew, I honestly don't think any quarterback worth their salt would want to come to the Jets. But now you have an OC that has a history of success with quarterbacks. I'm not going to say it's an attractive place to go, but it became attractive enough to where if the money's okay, you guys can have the pick of the litter as long as you pay up. Yeah. So, listen, I think the Jets did a good job as far as the coaching hires, and I think with their DC, it's the perfect guy for Aaron Glenn to have enough control to where they won't go head to head. And, look, as far as the Giants go, to me, I don't know if you guys agree with this or not. There's not much to say. We know what John Harbaugh is doing. He's hiring experience. Yeah. That's what he's going for. He's getting guys in the room that have a lot of experience in the NFL. And I don't even think he cares so much about their track record. I'm sure he does. But I think his number one the number one thing he was looking at on their resume is how many years they have in the league, how many years they have in a high position role, and hiring the Titans head coach that got fired like 5 weeks in. Doesn't really matter. He's like the quarterback coach or whatever, but he's just bringing guys in that have a lot of experience in being a leader in the room. John Harbaugh is the leader in this room. Make no mistake about it. So it's not like these guys are going to have too much say, but I can't sit here and say I love the hirings, but do I trust John Harbaugh, his hand-selected guys, according to what he feels this team can and can't do? Of course I do, right? The experience, the adults in the room, which is, in my opinion, exactly what the Giants need, particularly when you have guys like Abdul Carter, who's falling asleep in meetings, Dexter Lawrence, who gained like 50 pounds and didn't really care to play last year, it looked like. Right. So I think the Giants need people in that room that are the alpha males. So, I don't think we can love a head coaching selection until it actually plays out into fruition. But I have zero issue with what the Giants did and what John Harbaugh did.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
You got to love the John Harbaugh running things the way he wants to run them. You got to give him carte blanche. You can't be sitting there and micromanaging what he's going to hire and decide what he's going to do. You have to let him be who he wants to be and let him do his thing. And, he's been a successful coach, so you have to let him pick his staff and do what he wants to do. So I'm trusting in whatever he's going to do, just like we are with, Muji and the Jets. You got to trust the same thing and let John Harbaugh run things the way he sees fit.
Yeah, there's no downside. He almost had Rex Ryan as your defensive coordinator.
I know. You hear about that? He actually had conversations with him.
Oh, yeah, deep conversations. And listen, I think you could do a lot worse than Rex Ryan as your defensive coordinator. I just think he probably just didn't want the loudness of Rex Ryan. At this point.
And to be honest, Uncle Teddy, the outdatedness, I know that's a made-up word, but, I got to be honest, like Rex Ryan has not coached in a very long time. Right. And I remember when Harbaugh was on, I think it was Tiki and Evan, they asked him about Rex Ryan. And the first thing Harbaugh said was, he's got to get up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
And right when he said that, I knew he wasn't hiring him. Because the last thing that Harbaugh wants to do with all the pressure, all the things he has to accomplish in a dying franchise, is catch Rex up to speed. But if they hired Rex Ryan, that would have been, my God, I don't think they would have had a game before 8 p.m. It would have been prime time every single night. Like
Yep.
it would have been so much fun to watch. But I got to tell you guys, and you're going to be surprised, right? Because you know my thoughts on Jackson Dart. You knew my thoughts on Jackson Dart before the draft. Maybe I'm overthinking this because I'm starting to get scarred, beat up a little bit as a Giant fan. He's out and about a little too much for me recently. I'm not a fan of this. And I'm not saying this is going to hurt him, but I don't like the fact that this guy won 4 games last year, albeit he was very good. But this is a 4-win team, and he's out with the Armani suits, with all the women, with all the celebrities, glad handing every sports talk show host and, joking around in interviews. Like, I'm not saying we'd all do the same thing. I get it. I'm not blaming him, but when I'm watching the way he's acting, I'm like, oh boy, this is not a good sign. I didn't see Eli Manning doing that in the beginning of his career, right? So I don't know what you guys think of that. Like, if you were in my shoes as a Giant fan, you have a lot of hope in your quarterback. Would you guys be a little concerned seeing him out and about and just a little too much out on the town?
As long as he's not making an ass of himself out there, if he's just joking around and enjoying being a quarterback in New York and going around and having some fun with it is fine. As long as he's not being an ass and being out till 2:00 in the morning, getting drunk and being around, strippers and everything else going on, then sure, you got to enjoy yourself. You don't know how long the road's going to be, and especially the way he has been in the concussion protocol tent 7 times last year. You never know what's going to happen, so you got to enjoy it while you can. So I'm not as big of a he's got to just focus on what he's doing kind of thing, but as long as he's not an ass, then have fun.
Yeah,
You got to enjoy it.
I agree with Mike. I don't think he's doing anything that could really concern you other than you would like him just to be at home and not be in the spotlight. The only thing that I think went on recently that I kind of rolled my eyes on was, I don't know, he had some kind of a weird comment about, falling so far down the Rookie of the Year voting.
Yeah,
Which
he said he was insulted.
Yeah, well, you know what? Guess what? When you compare yourself to the guys who won Rookie of the Year, shut your mouth. You were a good quarterback. Because I had an argument with someone, and when they were saying, about, what are you guys going to overreach at 16 and take Ty Simpson? I'll tell you right now, Ty Simpson, it could be the same as Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart was drafted 25th. Giants got back in to grab him, which was a great pick. I liked Jackson Dart. I'll tell you the truth, and I'm, you can throw this in my face if it doesn't work out for whoever gets him. I like Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson, I know he didn't have that many games that he played, and that's a big deterrent where Jackson Dart did. But Ty Simpson, he's got all the tools, and he played a top-notch schedule in very competitive games. And if you draft a Ty Simpson and you have a bridge quarterback and you draft a Ty Simpson and you let him work with Frank Reich and Musgrave for a year, guess what? I'll take my chances that he could be Jackson Dart. Why not? And that's not a knock on Jackson Dart. I love the kid.
Yeah.
And again, I think he should be out there. I'll tell you the guy who's out there that I think is a complete a-hole is Scatterbo. Scatterbo's a moron. He's a complete moron. And he's going to be out of the league in 2 years.
I'm okay with that for the running back. And by the way, you guys are 100% right. I'm only looking at it because I'm so sold on Dart, and I want him to be so good, and I don't want this to screw up.
You want Eli
He's
again.
not doing, and Uncle Ted, you both said it. You both said it great, but Uncle Ted, you hit it on the head. He's doing nothing wrong. So I'm not saying he's going to, we're going to see mugshots of Jackson Dart. I think he's a good kid. I think he's a good, Utah boy from a good family. I don't think he's going to get in trouble, but that's just me as a Giant fan, I guess. Just worrying.
Did you guys hear what Eli said about the Hall of Fame this week?
No, I didn't know. I didn't even know he talked about it.
First of all, it couldn't have been more Eli Manning than he. He said, "Listen, the Hall of Fame is whatever it is." He says, "I played football to win games and to have the camaraderie with the players on my team and my teammates. And I think I accomplished that. And I'm very happy where I am. If I get called to the Hall of Fame, it'll just be another honor. But already I've had so many honors. There's not a better person than him. There really isn't.
He's consistent. I mean, and he's not
Yep.
faking it. He's not doing it for the camera. That's who he is. I remember he has a show. I think it's called the Eli Manning Show,
Mm-hmm.
and he had Derek Jeter on, and they were talking about some topic. They were like kind of doing rapid fire questions, and I'm paraphrasing, but Eli Manning basically said the one thing he lived by, the one code he lived by in his career, is pass the credit on to other people, even if you should get the credit, and always take the blame, even if someone else should take the blame. That's what a captain does. And I saw Derek Jeter's face was just like, yeah, you're 100% right. So to me, like with Eli and the Hall of Fame thing, listen, we've gone over this so many times. Yeah, should he get in? I think he should, but you can make the case he shouldn't. I don't
He's
know,
going to get
but
in.
I think he's going to get in. But for me, again, I said this. I think it was last week or the week before. I kind of share Eli's sentiment. I really don't care. Eli, and this goes for every player, by the way. If you had success in the league, the Hall of Fame is just like the sprinkle on top. There's people that are in the Hall of Fame that you don't even realize are there until somebody reminds you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those Super Bowls, those MVPs, not that Eli won it, but the awards you get, those are always
Eli got 2
remembered.
Super
So
Bowl MVPs, right?
he had two, yeah,
He
both
did.
both Super.
That's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, there's very few
Yeah.
people who can say that.
Yeah.
Two-time Super Bowl MVP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, listen, here's the good news, guys. Our football season is over, and we are now moving on to baseball. And I'm actually really excited for this season. I think Yankees and Mets fans alike should be excited for different reasons. And I want to ask you guys a question. I was thinking to myself, is there a move that you wish the Mets or the Yankees made that didn't happen? And Uncle Ted, why don't we start with you? Is there anything that the Mets didn't do that you wish they did?
Yeah. Re-sign Pete Alonso.
Agreed. That's the big one.
Yep.
That's the one. Everything else they did, I loved.
You were happy with everything, right?
Yeah, I was happy with everything.
Yeah. Well, you know what he did? I got to give Stearns credit, and I am not a Stearns guy. I got to give him credit for pivoting after a disastrous 2 or 3 weeks where Met fans were basically,
Mhm.
starting a petition to fire to get him out of there, right? So, with the Mets, I think it's interesting because this is a completely different team, and it's very
Yeah.
hard to tell what they're going to do. They obviously pivoted and did a really good job with, getting guys in here that can play. I think they evened out the roster pretty well, especially in the first 5 guys in the lineup. But, Mike, how do you feel about the Yankees? What are your thoughts going into the year?
I know everyone is freaking out that it's essentially the same team they had last year and that they didn't really do anything other than re-sign their players and that there's still holes on this team. I'm not buying it. This team won 94 games last year with a 6-week stretch where they looked absolutely awful. And they had 3 of their best starting pitchers not play pretty much most of the year because of that. And they're getting them all back at some point this year. So I am not someone who's going to say that this team is a disaster and it's going to be worse than it was last year. This team is going to win between 90 and 100 games. It's going to either win the division or be the first wild card, and you're going to be in the same spot you were, except instead of having, a couple of question marks there, you're going to have Garrett Cole and Max Fried and Cam as your 3 starters in a 5-game series, and I'm going to take those 3 over pretty much any starting pitching staff outside of the Dodgers out there in the American League. So I'm ready to go. I can't wait for this season to start. Let's keep going.
Yeah, if there's one move I wish the Yankees made, and we talked about this before weeks ago, I really thought that Bo Bichette would have been a very, very good fit for the Yankees. And for some reason, Cashman wanted no part of him unless it was, under the rug. We didn't hear about it. I thought he would have been a great fit. But Mike, I share your sentiment, man. Like, This idea that, the Yankees had to make this massive splash because they're the Yankees. They were tied for the best record in the American League last year. So this idea that it's bad, the Yankees are running it back, is complete and utter nonsense. What I have a problem with is the fact that Brian Cashman is not admitting that they're running it back.
Right. Yeah.
Just say you're running it back. Aaron Judge did.
That was
Aaron
interesting what he said. That was
I know. He was a little like,
he was a little rough.
He's funny, man. I'll tell you why. Because he's great in front of the camera, right? He says the right things. He slipped, like the Aaron Judge came out of the shell a little bit, where like he had to like reel himself back in, and I could just see, Cashman like watching it, like, oh my God, what's he gonna say? But listen, I have no problem with the Yankees running it back. And by the way, they're getting Garrett Cole back. I'll tell you who I'm really excited about, Mike, and I think you're going to agree with this. I think, and this is one of my bold predictions, I think Bednar is going to be one of the top closers in the league for a long time here. There is something about his demeanor that just screams New York. Yep. He's like a badass, right? Zero fear. I'm not knocking the Mets here, Uncle Ted, but like Devin Williams, he had the shakes. You could see it. Mike, you said it. I remember you went to opening day.
On opening day, I was sitting there on opening day and said, this guy is a mess. He looked like he was falling apart on opening day there. So
I'll tell you the guy you guys are going to miss. Luke Weaver.
Can I guess? Yeah.
Yep. I'm sorry.
I know you're good, man. That's what I was going to say. I agree.
I think I loved that addition to the Mets bullpen. I loved that addition. I really did.
Yeah. And maybe Devin Williams works out too, man. Like, who knows? He had a good second half with us, and I'm not saying he won't.
I mean, he was great in Milwaukee.
It's a different animal closing at Yankee Stadium than it is anywhere else.
Anywhere else. 100%. 100%. That's the truth. That's, I don't know. What's funny about that, though, Mike? You say that. And then there are people, like, I think this week, Giancarlo Stanton he kind of gave the impression, at least they were talking about it on the radio, about the Yankee tradition. Like, whatever it is, what it is. Some guys don't, like the time that Vince Coleman didn't know who Jackie Robinson was. Guys like that.
Here's the thing. These guys are 22, 23 years old. The Yankees have won one World Series in their entire lifetime. So it's not like they're sitting here looking at like guys my age who saw the Yankee dynasty in the 90s and heard about the ones in the 70s and the 60s that were, relatively close to the time. If you're 22 years old, you're probably a Red Sox fan if you grew up outside of the tri-state area because that team wins a lot, or you're a Dodger fan, or you're an Angel fan. It's not the Yankees like they were, where they were winning every single year going forward. So there's that Yankee mystique and aura, those two girls that were there from the 03 ALCS, they are not here anymore. So,
That's true.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's the beauty of baseball, though, right? You don't need to do that. How many times do you see teams all of a sudden get hot? So I don't think there's any issue with the Yankees right now. The problem is with the Yankee fans, and like, even as a Yankee fan, I have to admit, we're some of the worst fans in sports because we just constantly complain. We are never happy, no matter what, unless we win a World Series, which I understand that thought process of high expectations as the Yankees, but like the Yankees have not done anything wrong here, unless you want to talk about the Trent Grisham situation, which is another topic. But to be honest with you, you look at the Yankees, I have no doubt the Yankees are making the playoffs next year. As long as they stay healthy, I have no doubt they have, in my opinion, you can make the case they have the best starting rotation in baseball. It's up there. It's top 3 if you don't think it's number 1. So, like, Brian Cashman's done a good job. I don't care what anybody says. He's done a good job. And are they cheaper than they used to be? But yeah, maybe. But look who the guy was. It was George Steinbrenner. Is that a fair comparison? It's really not, right? So I don't know. I'm happy with the Yankees and what they're doing. So, and I think the Met fans should feel the same way. I'm looking forward to this season. So we'll get some more of that. I can't wait to start talking about baseball. And, once spring training starts and the season starts, we can have our weekly complaints and, weekly exciting moments, a good mix. But Mikey, we got to get to your mush picks. And you had some picks last week or the week before too, right?
I did. We had a skiing twofer. We had in the biathlon, aka Scandinavian drive-by, we had Johan Olav Boten won the gold medal for Norway. They are a 5-1 winner of the gold medal, so that's a win there. Unfortunately, though, Stefan, and again, I got to say this name very slowly, Rettenegger, from Austria, finished fourth in the Nordic combined, which is you ski jump, and then based on how far you ski jump is where you start on the cross country skiing. He jumped really well, and he was out in front, but he's not a very good skier, so he ended up finishing fourth in that event. But 1 out of 2 is still pretty good, especially if you cash it in at 5-1. You're still got some more cheddar goldfish than what you started with. So,
Mike,
but
what did you pick for the over for gold medals?
12 and a half for the United States. We're at 7 right now. We're going to need a sweep of the 2 hockey to have a shot at this, because I think there's still some speed skating, and there's the half pipe I think is coming up for skiing. So I think there's still some shots for U.S. to get there. But the 2 hockey medals are going to be key to get there. And I picked U.S. to win the men's, and I just want to take 1 second to talk about the unbelievable day of hockey we just watched today. 3 games where the team scored in the last minute and then had 3 overtime games, 3-on-3 overtime. Sudden death is electric. I love the 3-on-3 overtime in regular hockey, and it's only for 5 minutes, and it's crazy. But then you add in the fact that this is in the Olympics, and it's a win or go home. It's a golden goal kind of thing. And also I do love that the U.S., when they score, they play the Freebird guitar solo as their goal song, which is
that is a perfect goal song for the U.S.
Top notch for them. It's just the best.
It is.
So I do have a pick for this week. It is a very fun debut sport at the Olympics this year. It is called ski mountaineering. Basically what it is you're going to climb up a mountain with your skis on your back, and then you're going to get to the top of the mountain, and then you're going to ski all the way back down, and that's where the finish line is, back at the bottom. So these guys have like climbing gear, and there's apparently they have avalanche detect, like a beacon in case they get knocked down in an avalanche that they have to carry with them for this thing. So I'm going to have a women's pick and a men's pick for the winners of the mountaineering sprint for both them. So for the men, I'm going to take Thibault Asmelet from France. He is 2-1 to win the gold medal. And for women, I'm going to take Giulia Murata of Italy, 5-1 to win that. I think there's going on tomorrow. It's when it starts. They basically do head-to-head. It's very cool. So it's like a bracket style. You go against one other person, you run up the mountain, and then you ski back down. It's so much fun to watch. I'm going to be locked in on this tonight when it starts. But Mikey Mush's picks for week 2 of the Olympics. Hope you're having fun. And let's go USA for men and women for ice hockey, and let's keep going.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'm not a gambler unless we're all just putting a couple bucks down on something just for fun, right? But I would venture to bet everything I have that Mike is the only person in the United States that bet somebody by the name of Johan Olav Bolton. I don't think I can't even spell that name, and Mike is betting them. It really is unbelievable. But hey, listen, that is the beauty of the Mikey Mush picks. They're not your regular picks, and that's why we do it every week. So, all right, guys, listen, thank you so much for listening. Starting next week and heading on for the next couple of months, we got some good stuff on tap. Football season's over, but we have March Madness coming up. I think we should start talking about the Knicks a little bit too. Obviously, baseball, we're going to do. But most importantly, guys, do not forget, like and subscribe. The link tree is going to be somewhere below. You guys can hit it. Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, we're all over the place. Wherever you guys listen, we really appreciate it. If you want to ask us questions, patheticthepodcast@gmail.com. Anything and everything is on the table. And guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great night.
Take care.